Hey, welcome to my year in review video for 2022. And I'm a little late this year, but I have a really good excuse. I have a note from the teacher, a note from the doctor. I had COVID in October this year. It wasn't fun at all. Worst thing I had in decades. And then in the middle of December, when I sit down here to do my year-end review video, I end up getting, I don't know what it was, a virus or infection. It was in my lungs. I got aches and pains. I had pink eye, I had tonsillitis at the same time. I've never had either one of those in my life before. Horrible, horrible stuff. It wasn't a whole lot of fun. I don't recommend it to anybody. But here I am, finally, doing this. And I love doing this video every year, just to go over everything, all the videos that I did. I like to talk about why I did them, funny comments that came up, weird things, behind the scenes. If you're new to my channel, it's great to see what I'm doing, what you would expect to see on this channel. And if you subscribe, maybe, like I say, behind the scenes or catch up on stuff that you missed. So anyways, it's going to be a lot of fun this year. I have a lot of stuff to talk about, what's going to happen in 2023. A lot of exciting plans that everybody I will enjoy, I think. A lot of great stuff. I'm always trying to improve this channel. So, and at the end of the video, as always, I talk about the comments that I get throughout the year. I save them in a little file. It's really interesting to go over this. And I'm going to pick out something new this year. That I'm going to pick out my favorite video that I did. That's really tough to look at your own stuff and go like, oh, what was the best thing? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to try. First time ever, I'm going to talk about being on other people's channels this year. First time I went outside of this little Johnny B guitar box and went out into YouTube on other people's channels and did live stuff, which was a big thing for me to get out of this whole control thing where I can edit video and, if I say something dumb, it never sees the light of day. So it took me out of my comfort zone and I enjoyed it a lot. So, a lot more about that coming up. Will you see live stuff from me? Stay tuned, right? The whole video here. All right. So let's take a look at last year's year in review video to see what my predictions were for this year. What am I going to do next year? Some of them are kind of theory-based videos about the Frankenstein. Paint test number 2. The Pink Frankie. Yeah, more Phil X videos. The Frankenstein project. Can we have too much Frankenstein stuff? I don't think so. I think I'm getting better at the whole prediction thing, or at least being more realistic in what actually happens, because I was always terrible at trying to predict what I would do the next year. But theories video, that was something I put out all about the stripes, and that was really kind of fun. And I was already in the works with that video when I was doing the year-end review for last year. So that one was kind of, if I got that one wrong, that would be pretty bad. Paint test number 2. That's something that a year ago I was almost ready to get that out. In fact, I shot the video. All of my work with the paint samples and the test with the red paint on the Frankie, I was ready to get that out. And then I discovered a problem, a little setback, I guess you could say. Basically what it was, I was using a clear lacquer for all my paint samples, but I was just a clear lacquer I hadn't used a lot of before, just to use for my samples. And what I discovered, it didn't have a UV protectant in it, so I was getting fading problems. So I didn't want to put anything out. I had to go back and solve it. And it's just a simple thing of using a different kind of clear lacquer, which is what I did. I've done some samples, I'll do more, and the new video will come out. The one I shot, scrapped, gone. I do that a lot. That's happened quite a few times here. Let's see, what else did the Pink Frankie was something I talked about and I wanted to get out. And it just hasn't come out yet, but it will. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this guitar. It's a really special guitar with a really cool story. Designed by a friend of mine, painted by his niece. And yeah, I don't want to go into it, but it's going to come out this year because I'm so excited about this and I don't want to sit on this any longer. The Franken G, of course, that all came out in 2022. The first one was at the very last video of 2021. But it's all out, the whole series, and I'm really proud of that guitar and what my buddy Scott and I did with Phil X. So, and we'll talk all about that throughout this video. The Frankie build, my Frankenstein project. And what did I say? It was going to, a little more detail, a lot more detail coming up. I had no idea like this project has exploded and taken on a life of its own, like no other guitar project that I've ever done. Where it's gone is blowing my mind. The level of detail, the stuff that I've come up with and I've discovered. Basically, I've been struggling for the last few years because I've discovered a lot of things about the real Frankie, and I can't put them in this guitar because they don't exist in the guitar. I mean, I can't all of a sudden take that body and put it on a 5-degree angle. I can't. So, you know, if you watch what I've been doing, I've been replicating wood grain, all kinds of stuff, trying. Something happened. Somebody came to me, two very respectable gentlemen, and offered a solution. And this is going to be taking the project to a whole new level, and I'm so excited about this. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, kind of thing. But it's there. It's going to come along. It's going to be really, really fantastic. But I just want to read a comment about the year-end review for last year. And this is from Shane Mann. I'm not a person who has ever had a favorite YouTuber or favorite YouTube channel, but if I was, it would be you, Johnny, and Johnny B Guitars. Looking forward to everything ahead and to re-watch videos you've already uploaded again and again in the meantime. Thank you for your amazing work. It's really cool to get stuff like that, where people don't know who I am and they just discover the channel and they're all in. You know, it says I'm doing something right, hopefully. But yeah, welcome aboard, welcome aboard. And I get a lot of emails like that, or comments and things like that, messages from people, and I'm constantly blown away. All right, moving on to the next video of the year, the second video, and that was the making of the Phil X Franken G, and that would have been part 2. And this was a Zoom call. Originally, we planned for the Zoom call to be the last video so that we could all just sit back and talk about the guitar, Phil's experiences with it on the road, Scott and I talking about the building process, about how Scott painted it. But it all came down to schedules. I think this was shot just before Phil went to rehearsals with Bon Jovi. They went out in April. So we did it when we could, and we just put it in wherever. This was the second Zoom call I had ever been involved with in my life, and the first time I ever hosted one. So I was a little nervous. First live thing, even though we didn't play it live on YouTube, it was basically a live call with the three of us. But I was really nervous about technical difficulties, and I didn't want to have something happen where I'd have to redo it and get everybody back involved, and the three of us. So it was a little nervous. I was a little nervous trying to get it done. I was looking constantly at the screen, making sure that the record was on. We had a few hiccups, and I found out that Zoom is not a great place to do stuff like this. The sound quality wasn't as good as what I'd want. We froze a lot, and because of that, we had some difficulties. We decided to end the call and then restart it. And that made it really difficult because I was going to just edit the video into one nice little tight package, but it was really difficult the way that it played out. So I ended up doing it in 2 videos just to make sort of some sense out of it. But it was really fun. It was really fun to sit back and watching Phil play that guitar and rip through some of the Van Halen stuff was just a pure joy. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay.
That's supposed to be a video. I just want to watch you play that thing for the next 40 minutes.
Right. Let me stand. Yeah. Oh, there it is. There it is. What? Oh my God. It was funny. This is one of those guitars, like you could walk on stage anywhere with any guitar and people are going to be like, oh, cool. But when I was doing shows with Kurt Deimer and I used this for the last song, I walked on it and people, the audience was like, yeah. What? Like at first people think it's like an actual Frankenstein, and then they realize, wait a minute, it's got what? It's a Gibson headstock and it is a Gibson and what? It's like, it was so awesome. And people are like, do some Van Halen, man, do some Van Halen. I'm like, oh, sorry, that's all right. Next time. And
I want to read a comment here because something else about that whole thing. And this is from William King. Cool to see Phil wearing the Johnny B t-shirt. So yeah, that was really cool to see Phil wearing the shirt. But you know, the funny thing is, I was joking with him saying that his Death Wish coffee shirt kind of looks like my shirt. And he goes, oh, I need a Johnny B guitar shirt. So I sent him 2. And I thought, great, he's just going to wear them around and stuff like that. But he ended up wearing them, not only in the video, but he wore them on stage several times. He took them out when he was with Kurt Deimer. He wore my shirt at the Whiskey A Go-Go. I couldn't believe it. There's so many great shots of him playing the Franken G with my shirt on. Priceless to me. I was just so happy. So anyways, buy a guitar shirt, a Johnny B guitar shirt or a sticker, you get in a video. That's what I'm promoting this year, and from now on, actually. All right, so the third video of the year was the Frankenstrat Theories, and that's the one I was referring to before. And that was a video based completely on comments that I got from the other video that I did 3.5 years ago, whatever it was, how Eddie Van Halen painted the Frankenstrat. And people left comments and sent me messages about their ideas on how Eddie painted, where he got the idea from the stripes. And when I did that video originally, that was before I talked to Chip Kinman, before I did a lot of research into that. And a lot of things from what those people told me really helped me and go down different rabbit holes and pathways. And it's interesting to make a video that you never would have thought you would ever make just generated from another video. So that's really kind of fun and cool. One of the things that people do tell me a lot are, don't be afraid to nerd out. Don't be afraid to don't take anything out of your videos. So one thing I talked about, what guitar did Eddie use for the Beat It solo, Michael Jackson's Beat It on the Thriller album. And I did a little research, and I actually added a segment to the video because I wanted to try to figure it out. There's not a lot of information out there, and I really couldn't lock it down. But it was kind of neat to add that. I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for people suggesting, don't be afraid to nerd out. As best as I could figure out, it was the Frankenstrat that he used, the Frankenstein guitar. But we don't know for sure. We don't even know what amp he used. We don't even know where it was recorded for sure. So, there may be more information coming up about that. But a lot of fun to do that video. All right, moving right along to the fourth video of the year, and that's Frankenstrat Project, installment episode number 7. And this was, this is where I started to struggle with the whole body not being as accurate as I want it to be. But I went back, it was basically like an overview of where I was with the body. A lot of people were asking me, so I wanted to show that. I was a little nervous because it's not what people might think. I also went back to the 2018 video from that project, showing different tools and things that I was using for the relicking and the scratches and things like that. Very basic stuff. A segment that I called the 5150 tour video, which I put out. I'll talk more about that when I get to it, because I put that out all in one, but I did it in 3 parts. And I put that, I think it was part 6 of the Frankenstrat project was the first part, and then this was the second installment of that. People really seem to like it. And also a silly song, of course, always. And I got a really cool comment here to read from that. This is from HALENVILLE. Hope I'm pronouncing these things right. I get really criticized for pronouncing things wrong. Another amazing video. I'm prepping my build for the white coat. You make me rethink everything. I want more. I get a lot of that. A lot of comments like that and messages from people with these videos with the Frankenstrat project. But it's not a step-by-step guide by any means. It's just my diary of what I go through. So please don't hold back. Build your guitars. But yeah, this is really cool. I love comments like that. All right, so the 5th video of the year was the Jeff Paris interview, part 2. It was a whole year. Even Jeff was sending me messages like, "You ever gonna put out part 2?" I wish I had more time. That's what I keep saying. I wish I had more time to get all this stuff done. But yeah, finally, it was a year. And I actually got a comment in regards to that from Holly Lewis. And she says, fantastic. Please don't keep us waiting another year for part 3. LOL, you rock. That was pretty great. That somebody noticed that it was a whole year. It's amazing how much time goes by. But finally, I got part 2 out. And it was great because this is the one that really showcased why he worked with Eddie. Being a stagehand working for Stagehand Union, and it was great to get that perspective. We've all gone to concerts, we've all seen these people running around setting the show up, but we never really get their point of view. So it was really great for him to remember all these things, not just about Van Halen, but other bands.
The runner job, because I was trusted, and I did that job for a long time, where I ran people around. I would volunteer. I said, look, man, I need the money. I would have an 18-hour day. I would go into overtime as a union back then. I'd get $18 an hour. This is back in 1986, 87, 88.
Wow, that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah. And plus, I got paid $18 an hour to assist Rudy in Eddie's guitar tent and play his guitars, hand Rudy guitars, talk with Eddie overtime. Many times, different shows, I was paid to do that. Can you believe that?
Yeah, you would have paid him, right?
Yeah, I would have done it for free. I would have paid $1,000
yeah.
to be in a tent with Eddie Van Halen, a little black tent off to the side of the stage with his iconic guitars, talking with him. And here I am getting paid to do it, you know?
Oh, my God, yeah. Dream job for sure.
And something I want to talk about throughout this video is I plan on doing live YouTube videos. I've never done it. I've been on other people's channels this year, but this is something I want to start doing, and I've talked to Jeff about being on as a guest, and he's really excited about it. So it would be really fun to talk to him in real time on YouTube about all his experiences. And if you haven't listened to these videos or watched them, it's an interview on the phone, so I put images along with it, but they take a long time to make, but they're really, really interesting. He's a great storyteller, and more to come from Jeff. And a lot of people seem to be very interested in what he has to say. One thing that was frustrating, you got to remember, Jeff was talking to me for 2.5 hours on his cell phone in his truck. He had to pull over the side of the road in a parking lot or whatever it was when I called him. He's recounting this from memory. Hundreds of memories he has, thousands, I'm sure. And he did not have a date book or a journal to document when everything was. So if he said a date wrong, people would jump all over it. Like, oh, that's not what happened. It's like, this is his memory. It's not, going through some kind of document, So that was one thing that, you have to be responsible as a listener to understand that part. But still, you put that aside. Extremely fascinating to hear these stories. Oh, the 6th video of the year wasn't on my channel. The 6th video that I was incorporated or a part of. Tony Neville, Fruitcake Tony, he has a channel on YouTube, and he talks a lot about 80s rock, and Van Halen is a big, big thing for him. And he invited me to be on his show, the HALENVILLE show, and I was really excited. And this was my very first live show ever, so I was really nervous, but I wanted to really jump into that kind of stuff. And I've been watching his channel for a while, really like what he was doing, and I was really honored to be a part of it. And they had me on, and they just wanted to talk about me, which was really special. It wasn't like I was just one of many, and it was really fun to hear people just want to hear what I have to say. And I'll tell you, Tony and his people they made it feel so comfortable and so relaxed that I could just talk, and they were so great, and they asked lots of really cool and interesting questions, and I think we really got a cool video. He wanted me to talk about the origins of the stripes, and then we kind of just drifted into talking about paint more than anything, but I don't think anybody minded. But it was a lot of fun, and it really gave me a lot more drive to do my own live stuff, which is what I really want to get going on. And this is the first time I talked about the blue paint on the circle guitar, which seems to be another new controversy. So this was the first time I talked about it, and before I did more research on it, which is kind of one of those accidental things that just fall into, one of those rabbit holes, right? That you just trip over and you get stuck in. Now we get on to the 7th video, back to my channel, and that was the Franken G, part 3, and this the second part of the Zoom call. So this is the one where some of the technical difficulties. This was when we rejoined. We kind of dumped the first one, dumped out of it, and then we restarted. And Scott took a while to come into it, and I could have just edited to make everything blend like it was all one show, but Phil, while we were waiting for Scott, he's shredding like he's just playing away. And I wanted to, of course, keep every single note. I didn't want to leave any of that out. His incredible playing, Van Halen, playing classical VH2 Van Halen, and some of my favorite stuff like Light Up the Sky and things like that. There's no way I was going to chop that out of the video. Scott's missing the whole show. Where is he? Well, he's missing.
He'll see it in the video like everybody else.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo!
Oh, wow. Oh, there you go.
Oh, man.
What are you looking at on the screen, Phil?
I see you and me.
Oh. Oh, here he is.
Yay. Hey,
There.
I hit the last one.
Don't ever
Oh, okay.
reason.
So you're just sitting by yourself. Technology can suck it. This is the great show here, Scott.
I can't do it now. Scott, you make me nervous, man.
Sorry.
You know, you're a drummer. I have terrible time, so I can't play in front of drummers. Oh, wait a minute.
And of course, Phil kisses the guitar. I totally missed it when he did it live because I was on a completely different screen trying to find Scott on my phone. Where are you? Where are you? Get here. And then in the replay, I watched it back. I'm like, it's so cool. He's like kissing it. He really loves that guitar. And we got a great comment from somebody talking about something in relation to that. And this is from Ace Simmons. Guess we know what kind of band he likes. He says, great vid. Hey, check Frank Marino's DVD live at Agora Theater. For an SG with 3 single coil pickups, there are some songs from that on YouTube. And yeah, sure enough, I checked into it, but the reason I wanted to showcase this comment is because I love Mahogany Rush. Frank Marino is a very underrated guitar player, and he's Canadian, and he's got the SG. Phil is Canadian with the SG, the single coil pickups, and I thought, what a cool tie-in, just to say it's cool. But yeah, check out Frank Marino. He was around. Well, he's still around. I mean, he played big time in the 70s, and great rock blues stuff. I can't get enough of that kind of stuff. All right, back to the live stuff, and this was HALENVILLE on Tony Fruitcake's channel again, the 8th video of the year. Wow, what a powerhouse video to be part of. This was during Shark Week, and we're talking all about Eddie Van Halen's Shark guitar. And I was on it with, basically a panel of people. We had Chris Gill from Guitar World, who has actually seen and photographed the guitar, knows a lot about that guitar, knows a lot about the history, the Japanese companies that made the guitar. He even had his Greco guitar, which was very, very similar to the Ibanez Destroyers. And Donnie Ward was also on there, extremely knowledgeable in this guitar and all Van Halen guitars and gear. And he had his own replica, very well-made replica of Eddie's white, as when it was still the Ibanez Destroyer, but when Eddie painted it white. And that replica is amazing. And both those guys showing that, and then showing, I have my own, my Shark replica, which can't compare really, because it's not as accurate as I would like it to be, but it was really great to be able to show it, some features and things like that. I also talked about how Eddie modded the guitar and cutting out that chunk and what he might have done, and what how that was kind of a mistake, and he didn't intend it to look the way it ended up, and how maybe he really envisioned the guitar. And I did a little mock-up of that, and it was just so much fun. The three of us along with Tony's guys, to talk about this guitar for well over 3 hours, and we could have talked more, way more. And I'm sure there'll be other days where we'll do the same show and bring in some other people. But if you're interested in the Shark guitar, I would definitely check out Fruitcake Tony's channel and watch this video. What a fun. And I really got into it. Before I love promoting stuff, so I did all these stories where I had Fonzie jumping over Eddie, like jumping the shark. I had what was it, Jaws? What's his name? Chief Brody. We need a bigger boat. What was the other one? Oh, Batman. The shark repellent spraying Eddie, playing I had a lot of fun photoshopping all that stuff. But yeah, really, really great video, and a lot of fun to be part of that. That was so cool. Thanks Tony for having me with such knowledgeable people, Chris Gill and Donnie Ward. Just amazing. And then the 9th video of the year that I was part of, again on somebody else's channel, and this was really cool. Here, I guess it was getting around that Johnny B was doing live stuff. I don't know, but Johnny Beane, another Johnny B, he got in touch with me, and of course I've been watching him for years. Johnny Beane is a legend on YouTube, and again loves talking about rock and Van Halen big time. And he got in touch with me and said, come on the show. And so I was on the show with Michael Piper, a guitar builder. We got along really great. We talked all about guitars. Didn't get into the nuts and bolts, deep dive stuff. It was kind of like just a really fun hang, and we just talked and joked and had a good time, man. It was really cool. It's almost, it's kind of my YouTube bucket list, to be on the Johnny Beane show, and he said, come on back. That was the cool thing. So you never know, you might see me on there. And if I'm going to be doing some live stuff, maybe I can talk to him. I haven't asked him yet if he would do a live show with me, but I could ask. Maybe you could ask him. Who knows, when I start to get that stuff done. Number 10, we're back here in my world, back here at home, the Frankenstein project, part 8. And this one really went to a place I never thought it would go, where I was actually replicating the wood grain that we see on Eddie's guitar. Now, there's going to be a lot of big changes coming up. Now, I thought this was going to be probably the biggest change, or the highest level I was going to get to, besides the paint and all that other stuff, is replicating the wood grain. But it was kind of backpedaling in a way, trying to add all these things that I really wanted. And this is what I'm trying to say at the beginning of the video, where I'm saying we're going to go to a whole new level, and I don't want to give too much away. But if you saw this video and saw me do that wood grain, it's going to a whole new place. And a lot of people might be thinking, what's he going to do with that body if he... Oh, I'm saying too much. I'm saying too much. Okay. Maybe I'll edit that out. Oh, maybe I won't. Teaser. I'm always teasing. Okay, so prank phone call was in that video. Hello. Hey, I did it. That was kind of a tie-in to the Phil X thing that I made Scott and Phil and myself. We did that. And then I realized we did a prank phone call back in 1983 doing the same thing. So it was I called it my crossover episode, whatever. Okay, and then a comment. I got to read the comment. Again, with mispronouncing names, I don't know. Buxant, let's just say that. I should know, right? Living here in Canada with all the French. Hi, Johnny. After watching a bunch of your Frankies, I'm assuming he means Frankie videos, it's almost 4 a.m. and I need to work in a few hours. Thanks. LOL. Seriously, great work. I'm impressed. Hey, if I'm keeping people up all night, I don't know. I mean, you can tune in anytime you want, but that's great. That's great. Again, I love comments like that. They're funny. Number 11, going back to Fruitcake Tony's channel, and what a great place to hang out with these guys. They ask great questions, and by all means, you got to check out his channel. It's so much fun with everything that he does. This time it was going back and talking about paint, like the very first one that I was on. And this time I brought a whole bunch of paint samples. They allowed me to nerd out and talk about how paint was made and all kinds of stuff. We talked about the circle guitar again, and I went into detail, showed paint samples of how I think it might have been done, how the paint was made, what he used, and all that kind of stuff. And just crazy. I love being on Tony's channel. Made a lot of great friends through there, so a lot of fun. And then video 12, and this was the Jeff Paris part 3, and this was the last in the series, and I basically edited part 2 and 3 together. So it wasn't going to take a year for me to get the third and last one out, and it was really kind of funny because the views on part 3 were 10 times the amount on the first two. And I couldn't understand, like, why was there so many views? And I think it just comes down to how you title something, what grabs people's attention and things like that. I titled it Untold Stories. And I think when you have Eddie's name with Untold Stories, it attracts attention. I don't know. I'm not really 100% sure. I'm not an expert on figuring out, what attracts views. I do this for more than just views, but it was interesting to see that. And of course, it was all about Eddie's dark years that Jeff was recounting and remembering around 2004. And he told, I thought it was a funny story. And even though it was Eddie's dark years, it was interesting to listen to. Some people thought that we were throwing mud at him, and that's really unfair. I mean, we all know what his life was like around that time, so it's not a big surprise. And I don't think anything that Jeff said was something that was slanderous or hurtful. It was just him recounting an experience.
Wow, dude. He goes, I'll call you back. So about, 45 minutes later, he calls me back. He goes, Jeff, I got Eddie right here. He goes, I told him that you had done shows with him. They're going to do a song for sound check. What song do you want to hear?
Wow.
On My Life. I go, ain't talking about love. So he goes, hold on. He goes, I'll call you back. and I could hear Eddie in the background, yeah, hey, thanks, man. He's all drunk. He goes, yeah, man, he did a lot of your shows back in the day, man. He's like, hey, thanks, man. What do you want to hear?
Wow.
Greg goes, what do you want to hear, Jeff? I go, I ain't talking about love, He goes, okay. And then too much time went by. He goes, hey, I got to call you back. So he calls me back, and then there's a ton of noise. I had to go outside in my driveway out on this farm and put the phone away from my head, and there it was. And they did Ain't Talking About Love for soundtrack, and Eddie sang the lyrics.
Oh, really? Wow,
yeah.
Like back in the old days.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Greg's going, Jeff, they're doing it right now. This is for you, buddy. This is for you. See what I did for you. He's bragging. This is what I did for you.
Yeah.
Eddie's doing this for you, dude. And he's singing.
First time I talked about the stickers and T-shirts. Again, I'm going to keep talking about this more and more. If you buy a T-shirt or a sticker, you'll get in a video. I've been doing this at the beginning. And then we got some comments here. Oh boy, talk about trying to pronounce names. This is Von Vlad 67. Yes, Johnny B. Interview Jeff again, please and thank you. Make it an hour. Just let him talk till he stops. Have a question ready. But if something pops up, ask that. Peace and love. Robert Keiss says, hi Johnny, I'd love to hear more stories from Jeff. If not about EVH, maybe an interview with him to talk about his time with Kiss. His stories are great and it seems like he really enjoys sharing them. Thanks. Bob C. says, that hat Sammy is wearing at 3 minutes and 45 seconds is my hat. My wife sewed on the Van Halen patch. I was 4th row Cincinnati, September 18th, 2004. I never got the hat back. It was their best show of that tour, hands down. So that's kind of exciting. I did talk to Jeff about when I do live stuff. He was one of the first people that I thought of to have come on and talk about it because he has so much information. I keep saying that we spoke on the phone for 2.5 hours. If you add up the length of the videos, part 1, 2, and 3, it's not 2.5 hours. I cut a lot of stuff out because I wanted it to be just Eddie and Jeff, just that. I cut a lot of myself out. And I love the whole hat story. You know, seeing that photo in the video and having that guy see the video and comment. That was a really cool tie-in. All right, we're getting down near the end of the list here of videos. Number 13, and this was supposed to happen a lot earlier, but like I mentioned, I got COVID, and this was Rob Johnson's channel, another live video that I went on another person's YouTube channel. And again, I've followed what he's been doing for years, and if you don't know who he is, he's got an amazing EVH guitar collection, all replicas. What impresses me with what he does is he doesn't just have a quantity of guitars. Each one is very accurate. He tries either himself or to have them made. Accuracy is what's important, and that really counts a lot to me. You know, anybody can stripe up, 50 guitars, but he really works hard at this, and what a joy to see somebody do this. You know, I'm not going to do it, but I'm glad he is, and this whole thing, leading up to it, I love to promote shows. This felt like an event. For some reason, people thought it was really cool that I was going to be on his show. Rob Johnson and Johnny B together on the show. And that really felt good, to be incorporated into or involved with something like that. I sit here and I make videos and I see the views, but until you go out into, the rest of YouTube land, other people's stuff, you start to understand like how you are affecting other people. And it's always really great to get that kind of feedback. But we talked about we talked about the Frankie, we talked about the Rude guitar, and of course he had examples, right, of all these guitars. We talked about the Circle guitar. Again, we talked about that paint. And the 5150 guitar. Rob has a really amazing replica of the 5150 guitar. You look at it and you think he's holding the real thing. It is absolutely stunning. He has several guitars. I mean, all his guitars are great, but he's got some real gems that just are jaw-dropping. Like you have to go to his channel, see it. He's got all kinds of videos up there about his collection. It's just fascinating. And he finished off the night with a prank phone call that him and his buddy did years ago. Like how I end up my Frankie videos. So cool, so much fun, and again, it's great to hang out with some people, make all these new friends. It's just a great community that this BH. Since we lost Eddie, I think we've all pulled each other in a little bit tighter. How important this is, and it's great to have that feeling. The second last video on my channel that I uploaded this year was the Deconstructing 5150 tour video. Now this was all 3 parts that I had out previous on the end of my Frankie build videos. And I put them together, did a little bit of editing, tweaking, not much, and put it out as one video. I talked about it, I think, several times that I was going to do it. It generated a lot of views. More than I thought. Not that I want to say I thought it was going to be a filler, but I thought most people had already seen it. So it's just the same thing, but all together. But it attracted a new audience, which is great. I was happy about that. It also attracted a lot of comments that were like, people were confused with the title. Deconstructing. That was the word I used. And as far as my understanding that word, you're taking something and taking it apart, like maybe a comic book or a movie or whatever. And it was really hard for me to explain, this is the MTV tour video, the 5150 tour video. I didn't want to use MTV in the title because I thought that would make people think it was the MTV video. I don't want to confuse people. I tried to make the best titles I could, but there were people that, and I think they were just being Karens, just like, I feel short. One guy wanted to complain, like, I'm gonna complain to YouTube. This is fraud or something. I was like, so anyway, I thought it was good. I got a lot of great comments. Okay, the last video of the year that I put out, and I think going out with a bang. I really put a lot of work into this, and this was the part 4. This was the last video in the series for the Franken G, and this is the one that I was really waiting for because it's all the assembly. I sat here and I put the guitar together. Close up, you can see Scott's paint job in extreme detail. I show how I put the 5-way switch together. I took 2 switches, I took them all apart and made one, kind of taking pieces from, you know, this one and that one to make a really accurate switch. And I did the wiring and I made a diagram. If you're, you know, into the Frankie and you just want to know these little bits and pieces, the nuts and bolts kind of thing, there's a lot of stuff in here. Even though it's an SG, there's a lot of information that goes a long way if you're interested in the Frankenstein, Eddie's Frankenstein video. Eddie's Frankenstein guitar. It's getting near the end of the video. Whew, I'm getting, I told you I had tonsillitis. Hard, right? Hard for me to talk. Something cool I want to talk about. Not necessarily part of the video, but there is a clip at the end, a photo at the end. And that was, oh boy, I have to explain the whole thing. Scott and I, when we handed the guitar over to Phil, it was between where we live and Toronto, halfway. It was a truck stop on the highway. And we handed it over to Phil. It was during COVID, so things were really kind of weird. So Scott and I had this idea, it was Scott really, I guess, to go and paint an X in the parking lot where we handed him the guitar. So I made a template, oh, it's around here somewhere, and all right, there's the template, okay? I made a template and we spray painted an X on the parking lot, just for fun, just for shits and giggles, but Philip Petrona, like literally 3 days later, because we talked about this online. We put photos. It was just for fun. He drove there. He went out of his way to drive there, snapped a photo, a selfie with it, and it was such a cool thing. I had to put that photo at the end of the video. X marks the spot. You know, who knows? Maybe other people will do the same thing. But almost the end of the video. But the end of that video, of the Franken G, I put together a really cool thing. It's 10 video clips of Phil flinging the guitar around his shoulder and chucking it off stage, but they're all in sync. So they're from like the last year and a half or whatever it's been. All these videos that are collected kind of did this little sci-fi thing, but it's kind of cool. It was a lot of fun. All right, well, enough said. I don't know what else I can say. There was one more. New Year's Eve, Tony invited me on his New Year's Eve show. So I think I didn't really say a whole lot. I just kind of hung out for a while, and I think I spent more time drinking beer than I was talking. But it was nice enough for Tony to invite me on there at the last minute kind of thing. He sent me a link. So I almost forgot. What was my favorite video of the year? The one that I made. And that's really tough. At the beginning of the year, I came up with this idea, and I was like, this is going to be a tough one for you, because how do you pick your favorite thing that you made? But I have to say it's the theory video of the stripes, the evolution of the stripes, because it's something that I wouldn't normally have done. And I put all these things together from the comments that people had given me, and I researched stuff, and I fell down a lot of rabbit holes, and it really helped me to move forward with a lot of stuff. And that's people. That's why I love interacting so much and getting comments and ideas. But I really liked how that video went, even though it's not something that is proven fact. It's only theories, but it's another road to go down. So I'm really excited about that, and there's going to be more theory videos. So that's my favorite video of the year. I love them all, but I had to pick one. All right, comments. Some of my favorite comments. This year didn't have really, I don't want to say outstanding comments. I'll say I get a lot of very positive stuff telling me to keep going, telling me to do what I'm doing, telling me they like what I'm doing. So that's always really great. And hundreds of comments like that. But then you get the ones that kind of make you sit and scratch your head and go, whoa, I don't even understand. Sometimes I don't even understand if they're complaining or agreeing with me. People get kind of weird. But I want to read a couple of comments. These are my favorite. And I try not to read negative comments. I don't want to generate that kind of thing in my videos. But I want to read this because it goes along with another comment. And it's kind of funny. It puzzles me why people say these things. This was a comment made on my video, how Eddie Van Halen painted the Frankenstein. Now, these are not comments just from this year. It could be from any video that I have up. Jeff Gaga Wood, and he says, "You're mental, my man. Why is this so damn important?" He means the paint on the guitar. Eddie Van Halen did what he did, and thank God, pure genius. I'm just thankful for him, and that's it. I don't care how he painted it. Why are you copying it? Be yourself. I'm sure Eddie would tell you the same. God bless his soul. I feel so bad wasting 45 minutes watching this. Unbelievable. Why would you click on something? You know, I can't say it as well as the next comment, but why would you click on something that you have no interest in? You contradict yourself in here so many ways, and people do this, you know. So let me just go to the next comment here. X Wasabi X, I guess is how to pronounce it. Who knows? This was a comment not in response to the first comment, or to that comment I just read. This was on another video, Bare Body Frankenstrat Mysteries Revealed, but it ties in. Because I get so many of these comments. I get people not being interested in things like this. I love it. But do people not realize that they looked at the title and thumbnail of the video and decided that it was interesting enough to click on and got upset that it was exactly what they chose? And somehow they didn't think that's irrational and weird. Yeah, it's exactly how I feel every time I read something like that. Why did you waste my time? It's almost like as if I broke into their house, tied them to the chair, and made them watch the video. You have a button. I don't. When I watch a video and I'm not caring for it, I go on to something else. I don't sit here and gripe about it. Well said, Wasabi, or X Wasabi, X. So I'm just going to read through a couple more here. This says Randy Pringle. All he said was boring. Yeah, okay. That was on how Eddie Van Halen painted the Frankenstrat. And then Ben Stevenson. This was same video, how Eddie painted the Frankenstrat. I've never watched a video on YouTube for longer than 15 minutes. Congratulations. You've absolutely smashed my record. That was absolutely the most interesting 44 minutes of my life. More, please. Yeah, that's I find it interesting how the video either turns people around or completely, they just think it's the stupidest thing they've ever seen. Obviously I made it for the people that appreciate it. Okay, the next one. Trick or Treat says, well, kiss my ash. And that again was on the same how Eddie Van Halen painted the Frankenstein. I just wanted to put that up because there's so many people that hear me talk about swamp ash and then they go, swamp ash. I just have to. It's like, really? This is still a joke? Okay, this one was on the Franken G Part 1 by Gunnar Ray 23, or Gun R Ray. LOL, I saw this guitar live in Phoenix and saw him just chuck it off into the side of the stage, so I didn't get to see what happened to it, LOL, but he threw it high. I love comments like this. I've had so many messages after people have watched Phil live, when he was out on the road with Kurt Deimer, and it's almost like they're telling on him, like, Johnny, I don't know if you know, but he's throwing that guitar. Don't I know? I collect the videos. I love it. I know my buddy Scott, who painted the guitar. He says it stops my heart every time I see it. I love it. I love it. Phil's a great showman, and I love the fact that the Franken G is known to be I call it the Flying Frankie now. It's cool, man. It is. The last comment I want to read, I'm not sure if it's my favorite of the year, but it certainly ranks pretty high. And not so much for what it says, but who it was. And this surprised me when I got it. And I was really glad. I mean, I like what he says, but it's on the Chip Kinman interview that I did a couple years ago. And if you've watched the Sunset Sound videos, you know this person, Brian Kiu. And he talked a lot about Chip Kinman, and he went into the VH vault. So that's what he was on the show for, and knows a lot of stuff and just nobody else knows. But anyway, I want to read this comment because this was on the Chip Kinman video that I did. So Brian says, have to give credit to Pat Smear of the Germs and Foo Fighters, etc., who noticed this from those days. Also a big Ed VH fan. He told me years ago, and we mentioned the drills on the Sunset Sound interview. The timing is close, but it's pretty clear to someone like Pat who went to those shows every week. Yeah, I love what he says because it confirms what we're trying to talk about. I mean, I wasn't there back in '77 to to see this. So that's why I have to do research. And when you find documentation about this kind of thing, I mean, I talk about this in multiple multiple videos where there's fanzine magazines that Chris Gill dug up talking about Eddie going to see the Dills when he had the striped guitar. There's photos in this fanzine magazine. They talk about Van Halen being there. You can't ask for more than that. But it's great to get a comment like this because this is part of rock history and part of what we're all trying to do. But if you ever see this, Brian, thank you for commenting. It certainly made my day and my week. It was like, wow, this is cool, man, on the video that I did with Chip. All right, what are my predictions for next year? I'm not doing predictions this year. I don't know if I want to do predictions. I'm just going to talk about what my plans are. How about that? Because I have some very definite plans and how I want to direct this channel. And of course, I've been talking all through this video about doing live stuff, which is something I really want to do. It's going to be a big learning curve for me because making a video and uploading it is certainly a lot different than sitting there and running a live show as you're doing it. So I have to learn the nuts and bolts of that, and I want it to be done right. I want it to look good, and I have a vision of how it's going to look and what it's going to be called. But I've talked to several people about being on. A lot of really cool people, well-known people that said yes, they'll be on. So, and a lot of people that I haven't talked to yet that I'm sure will say yes, that I've talked to in the last few years. A lot of fun stuff. And I'm still going to upload videos. That's just, the live stuff will be in addition to what I already do. I've stopped taking guitar orders so that I can focus more on my guitars and the channel because that's really where my heart lies. I mean, I love all the guitars that I've worked on outside of this place, other people's stuff. I've always loved that, but it comes down to time and getting things done. I have, things in my life that I do outside of guitars, and you have to pick and choose what's going to happen, and you have to balance it. So this is been a big decision through 2022, so it's all coming to effect now. 2023 should be a lot of fun as long as I stop getting COVID and tonsillitis and pink eye. I don't want to be doing videos with pink eye. Buy a t-shirt, a sticker, give me a photo, a video of you wearing it wherever you stuck the sticker. Use your imagination. You're going to get it at the front of the video. More videos coming up. What else? I guess I've had enough. My throat's ready to give out, I think. And it's been a long video. But thanks for watching if you have. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks to all the new friends that I've made this year. It's been amazing with all this live stuff. Getting out and talking and it's on the internet, but you're still socializing. And the VH community, thank you so much for accepting me and bringing me in, because it's not something you can just walk into. We all have to, I think since Eddie passed, we've all pulled each other in and we realize how important each other is. And I am very honored to be part of that. And thank you so much for everybody. This is going to be a fun year, 2023, as they all are. But all right, I think that's enough. We're done. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.